Relational and Boolean operators in pseudocode. Welcome to this new lesson. I'm Surajmati and I'm going to guide you through the relational and Boolean operators. We have learned about Boolean operators, especially when we were studying about data types of variables in pseudocode. And we have seen that Boolean variables have actually two pairs of values, not pairs of values, but two different values, two possible values. These are true and false, or yes or no. So the learning objective of this lesson, you should be able to explain the difference between relational and Boolean operators. So let's start. What is a relational operator? A relational operator is a binary operator that compares two values or two variables. When you want to compare two values or two variables, you use what is known as a relational operator. Most of the time, we use relational operators to create conditions in selection, which we're going to study next. But most of the relational operators in pseudocode that we use is when we want to compare a value if it is less than another value, or a variable is less than another variable, we can use a less than sign operator, relational operator, greater than, which is represented by this sign, and less than or equal to, we use less than equal, greater than or equal to, we use greater or equal, then this is equal to, and this one is for not equal to. Let's jump at some example. As you know, a relational operator is used to compare two values, resulting in a relational expression. When we execute a relational statement, or a statement containing relational operators, it will always return a value which is either true or false. Let's look at this. Number greater is equal to 16. Now you can see a variable is being compared with a value. Now depending on this value of number, when it is compared, the statement is going to either return true or false. In the same way for passing, which is greater or equal 60. It depends on what is the value of passing. So remember, a relational expression or a relational statement will give rise to a Boolean value which is either true or false. Now, let's say number is equal to 5 and passing is equal to 60. Now we are comparing these two values. So the number variable is 5, as you can see from the slide, and passing is 60. Now if we do this comparison, number, what is the current value of number? It's 5. Now if you do 5 greater than 60, you should ask yourself, it's like a yes or no answer. If it gives you yes, in this case it is true. It gives you an answer no, in this case it is false. Okay, so in this case, is number 5 greater than 16? Number 5 is not greater than 16, so the answer is no. In this case, this will evaluate to false. Now, let's look at the second example. Passing greater or equal to 60. Now, there is an equal sign. Okay, we know that 60 is equal to 60. Therefore, in this case, the answer is yes, 60 is equal to 60, but not greater, obviously. But remember that the greatest equal sign will return a yes, since it is inclusive of 60. So it will take value 60 up till a higher value, where 60 must be included here. But it's completely different to that of greater 60, where will not include 60. So remember, greater equal to 60 will return true for value 60 and values greater than 60. A second example, number 1 is 5, number 2 is 6. We are working number 1 greater than number 2. In this case, number 1 is 5, number 2 is 6. So is number 5 greater than number 6? The answer is no. Therefore, it will return false. Let's look at a second example. Number 1 is 10. number 2 is 6. In this case, we do 10 greater than 6. The answer is yes, therefore it will return true. So all statements, especially a relational expression, they will return a value true or false. Now number 1 is 10, number 2 is 10. Now like I've said, in this case, number 1 10, number 2 10, we do number 1 greater equal to number 2, so it will take 10 up till values other than 10. Therefore in this case it will return true. Now, besides relational operators, we have also logical operators. You have met logical gates or logic gates, where we have studied in paper 1. So for logical operators we have AND, or NOT. These are the 3 different operators that are used to create logical expression. Now if you still remember the AND operator always returns true when both of the statement, means when I have a true statement, it is ended with a true statement, it will give us true, otherwise it will give us false everywhere. So whenever one of the expression on both of the logical operator side is false, it will return false. So one false will give rise to false everywhere. Let's take an example. So A is 5, B is 6, and C is 7. So A is 5, okay, C is 7. When we do A greater than C, remember we have an AND operator here, therefore we have to do these, work out these two expressions here separately, and then apply the AND operator to it. Now A is greater than C, therefore 5 is greater than 7. This gives us an answer no, therefore false. B, which is 6, and C is 7. Is B less than equal to 7? This is true, since one of them is giving us false. In this case, will give us false. Now the second expression, if you look at it, now the AND operator, if you see here, is being applied to B and C. B and C, these are integer values. In this case, we cannot apply an AND operator to two integers. This expression will work correctly, which will return us 7 greater than 7, they are equal, false, but this one will give us an error, because two integers being applied with an AND operator will give us an error. Therefore here we can say this expression will give rise to an error. Now if you take a look here, now B is being compared with a value instead of a variable. So 6, is it greater than 4, which gives us true, because 6 is greater than 4. Now C is greater than A, which is true. 7 is greater than 5. Now true ended with true. Remember that AND operator applies as follows: when both of the statements are true, it's going to give rise to true. Now the operator is different to that of AND operator. With operator, if you remember the logic gate, it will return true if any of the statements joined by the logical operator, joined by the Boolean operator is true. In this case, wherever there is one true, you're going to see that the statement returns true always. So for example here we have false and false, no true value here. In this case it's going to return false. An example of operator, so this is all, sorry for that. Now if you take a look, A is 5, C is 7. Now we're doing b less than equal to c. In this case, b is 6, c is 7. 5 greater than 7 will return false. Or with b which is less than equal to 7. In this case, it will be again false. Now doing false and false will give rise to false because there are no true statement in between. Now for the second part, c is greater than c. This will give us false itself because they are not greater. Now we have an AND operator, so we apply the AND operator first. Since these are into brackets as operator from BudMath, you know that you have to execute those into bracket first. Now again here, b and c, these are two integer values, therefore this will give me an error again. Now c greater than a, c if it is greater than a, 7 is greater than 5, this will give me true because 7 is greater than 5. Now we are ORing with b if it is greater than 4. 6 is greater than 4, yes, so true. Now 2 or true will give us true because one of the expression here gives rise to true. Now the NOT operator is a unary operator, same as NOT gate. It changes true to false and false to true. Now some example of NOT statement that we have seen and how it applies. So a is 5, so you evaluate this expression first, get the boolean value it returns, and then do the reverse. So a is 5 and c is 7. If I do 5 greater than 7, you know that this is going to return false because 5 is not greater than 7. Now applying a NOT operator on false, this will give rise to true. C greater than C, you evaluate these two expressions here, then since B and C is going to give rise to an error, we're going to say this statement here is an error statement. Now B greater equal to 4, which is true, and we are doing C greater equal to 4. Now observe that I'm applying the NOT operator only to this one first. So NOT of 2 will give me false. Okay, it's not a NOT statement like this one, which is enveloping the whole expression. So B is greater than 4, which is true. When I do NOT on true, it reverses it, so it's going to be false. And did we C greater than A, this is again true. But false ended with true statement in this case is going to give me false. So that's it about the 3 different Boolean operators and the different relational operators that you can explore more afterward in selection statement. If you like my video, click like and subscribe. See you for the next lesson. Thank you very much.